Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Najmi HAZIM bin RAUZIA, meeting number 056902 from Band 7B, and today I'll be presenting on the critical thinking assignment about Islamophobia from the book I chose, which is the Muslims Are Coming, Islamophobia, Extremism, and the Domestic War on Terror by Arun Kundnani. Now, first I'll be touching on the introduction to the literature. Based on the Encyclopedia of Britannica, literature is a collection of written works. The term has historically been used to describe imaginative poetry and short stories characterized by the reader's perceptions and the author's goals and the author's aesthetic perfection. Next, I'll be moving on to the Islamophobia in America. So we all know that Islamophobia in America is not a new thing, and is as old as the country itself, as large segments of the society have historically associated Islam with oppression, prejudice, misogyny, violence, sexual promiscuity, and hedonism. For example, until 1944, American courts denied citizenship to the people, including Christians believed or feared to be Muslim or Muslim origin. And after 1979 Iranian Revolution, American media coverage of Muslims became pejorative and fostered prejudice. Now let's talk about the book itself. The book is titled The Muslims Are Coming, Islamophobia, Extremism, and the Domestic War on Terror by Arun Kundnani. But before that, we'll talk about the author, which is Arun Kundnani, who was born in London and moved to New York in 2010. He was educated at Cambridge University and holds a PhD and graduated from London Metropolitan University. Okay, back to the book. The book was first published in January 2014 and examines the domestic front lines of the war on terrorism in the United States and Britain. Kundnani believed that towards the end of the first decade of the 21st century, it is argued Western society began to view Muslims communities through the prism of radicalization. His main interest lies in the radicalization theory, underlining the moral panic that underlines both the events. That is, the idea that exposure to extreme ideologies can lead to the people to radicalize and eventually engage in terrorist activities. Now we'll move on to the challenges faced by the Muslim characters. In page 71, Kundnani demonstrates how reformism was influenced by and has origins in the Cold War policy. Reformism recognized that Islam is not a single entity. In contrast to the culturalism, it does not categorize all Muslims as being extreme. Instead, it distinguishes between Muslims who adhere to the moderate Islam and those who adhere to the radical Islam. Reformers contend that the moderate majority must be distant from extreme Muslims. Next, the extensive surveillance of the Muslim is logically a result of theories of radicalization. According to the statistics presented by Kundnani, the FBI is more likely to spy on the Muslims than the Stasi did on East Germans. Finally, the impacts on the war on terrorist international policies on the American Muslim population, particularly Somali Americans, are further exposed in Chapter 7, the book's smallest chapter in the shortest title, Post-Boom. To name a few, they include being brutally assaulted by police and sternly questioned at public malls. To counter the problems stated before, there are a couple of solutions that can be executed, such as for the identity politic language, which is fundamentally polarizing and subtly racist. A prejudice of low expectation effectively denies Muslim communities the right to advance. Ideologies must be open to criticism from all of us without vilifying those who hold them. Above all, we all need to understand that people come before beliefs. Next, following 9/11, the erosion of civil liberties and loss of privacy are debated with the expansion of surveillance carried out in the name of national security for the Muslim population in various countries, and security versus privacy questions become more crucial because Muslim populations are primarily the focus of increased surveillance. In this regard, new extensive exposure is required to update Islam's image over the world. Finally, they touch on the topic of assault, frame assault, and even police brutality in America. This generation of Muslims can be spared if accepted bigotry we witness ends, if more people speak out against Islamophobia, and if policymakers and government continue to support the community. So to conclude, since most people have sought to explain violent events like 9/11 and bigotry against Muslims in terms of religion, instructive patterns have gone unnoticed in the public square when contemporary anti-Muslim bigotry is viewed in the larger context of the history of religious and racial prejudice in politics. In general, the book makes a valuable contribution to the continuing academic discussion about the nature and cause of radicalization. That's all for me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Bye.